Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first installment of the Bigger Picture Show interview series, where we talk to local artists about their contribution to this year's Bigger Picture Show, a gallery-style poster show where Indie's best designers and illustrators reimagine classic film posters, all to benefit Indie Film Fest, and sponsored, of course, by Lodge Design. Today, we are talking to Lauren Smith, who created a poster based on Sleeping Beauty. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you too. So let's get started. I've got your poster pulled up on my computer here, and it's just, first of all, I think it's beautiful. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
So this year's show, we're calling it the Bigger Picture Roadshow. So it's all sort of centered around locations and sets. So what about this particular set or location intrigued you?
Well, I mean, I grew up on Disney movies, of course, but the biggest inspiration or the biggest draw for this specific film was actually the artist who designed all of the backgrounds. Eyvind Earle is one of my favorite artists of all time. And back before I was even aware of him, just watching this movie, it's got such a unique style to the backgrounds, the illustration and everything like that. So I thought, after years of admiring his work, I thought this would be kind of a fun challenge to create something as sort of an homage to his work. So
yeah,
that was a big reason.
I definitely think you captured that, because I've seen it. It was a long time since I've seen it, but I remember it being so stylistic.
The dragon fight, yeah, you like when she turns into the big dragon, you've got these sharp thorns everywhere. It's just very, very graphic. It's not really like any other Disney movie, especially of that era.
Yeah, oh, totally. I remember that. It's like probably like the darker of those older Disney movies. And like, is that with like the shapes of the trees? Some of them are square, some of them are more rounded. Is that all taken from that style?
Yeah, absolutely. He does a lot. I mean, a vast majority of Eyvind Earle's work is landscape, and I have a whole art book of hundreds of his illustrations, and he does a lot with shape and very simple lines, just doing a lot with just very little in terms of of shape and line and stuff. But it's amazing how much you can convey with just minimal. I took it a little bit more maximum. I mean, I can't not, but
sure.
I love the texture that he uses in a lot of the trees as well. So I tried to kind of throw every shape in there that I could.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. So like overall, what sort of feeling did you want to capture in your final design once you were finished?
Well, I mean, I think that one of the more memorable scenes in the movie is the Once Upon a Dream, when Aurora and Prince Philip kind of first meet and they're dancing, and I just I wanted to kind of choose a scene or a setting in that movie that can kind of show each stage that it kind of goes through. You've got the woods where Aurora grows up and is comfortable. You've got the castle where everything kind of goes down, and then far off in the distance, I didn't really incorporate Maleficent's castle or anything, but you've got the jagged mountains which also appear in the show. So I kind of I like to I like the peaceful sort of happy feeling dancing through the forest kind of vibe that the beginning of the movie has.
Yeah. Oh, I think you succeeded in that endeavor. And with like the added border I love the detail in the border around this that you put with the dragons at the top and the thorns and everything.
Yeah. I kind of tried to because I love the beginning of the book has the storybook, like the illuminated manuscript feel with those, really intricate illustrations. And the story itself takes place, I think, somewhere in the 13th or 14th century. So just kind of give a little bit more of that medieval feel.
Yeah, it definitely has that, and it's something about it, like the way with the foreground, middle ground, background. It looks like the sort of painting that you can step into, and I totally want to step in there,
Yeah,
and just go exploring. Start walking down that road.
Yeah.
So, what type of, for our more technical oriented viewers, how did you go about creating this? Like, what sort of program did you use, and what was your whole strategy when you were making this thing?
Well, this was actually one of the few, I don't know if I should say this, but I've done this show a few times, and one of the few that I had an idea right off the bat what I wanted to do. So my first step was thumbnail sketching, which I did on a Post-it note at my desk. But I used the program Procreate on my iPad to create it, and specifically,
Love Procreate.
I know it's opened up a lot of paths, as far as my illustration goes. It's helped me kind of grow in a lot of different ways. So I wanted to try to keep a lot of it as simple as possible. I didn't want to over render a lot of things because that's not really what Avon Earl does. But I did really want to incorporate some amount of texture and just something that wasn't just smooth and sterile. So I have various brush packs that I use that I've purchased, a gouache pack that kind of mimics that sort of texture that I used obviously for the trees, and kept things a little less rendered, obviously closer to the background. But
Right.
I watched the movie on Disney Plus and kind of took screenshots just
Nice.
to get look, at least try to make the setting as accurate as possible, the castles and the buildings and everything like that. But and then when it comes down to color, I knew that there was going to be a lot of green, so I kind of wanted to introduce the purple. I didn't necessarily want it to be complementary, but I like the cool tones that the purples and the blues, and I didn't want any straight black to be in the piece. I wanted it to kind of be just a nice, like I said, almost ethereal, calm, happy sort of feel with the color.
Oh yeah, I could say, like, even the part, like when I create stuff, I have a tendency to want to always throw like true black in there, and I love how that's not here, and it sort of has this effect that it's almost glowing. Like the light is really, I love the way the light works in this one.
Yeah, it was like the struggle is always the where do I stop, and how far do I go before I say, okay, it's done. I'm going to step away.
Right. Oh yeah, that's always a challenge. Like when to call it finished.
Yeah.
If there was like one tip you can think of for any of our viewers that you might have some advice for in terms of creating a poster or drawing technique or anything like that, is there one tip you think you can give?
I think this piece was really an exercise in shapes. Kind of focusing more on dividing the piece into a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, and what shapes are going to be the dominant shapes. And kind of rather than saying, okay, I need to make sure that these trees are rendered perfectly, just I started with the most basic sketch shapes, and even when I was only halfway done and I had just the simple shapes in there, I could have stepped away and called it finished as well. I think that allowing yourself some time between, maybe step away, give yourself some space, come back to it and say, is this, do I really need to do more with this? But, I like to keep things simple. So
Right.
just kind of paying attention to, like I said, shapes.
Yeah, if you look, you can almost squint your eyes and break this piece down into the shapes that you've sectioned off and sort of and the composition of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the amount of detail that you chose to include or not include is really well balanced, and I love the final effect.
I think, yeah. And also I'd say don't zoom in too far. Let yourself, because I had to keep reminding myself, especially with the city and the castle and everything, I'm not going to have people looking at this piece with their eyes 2 inches away from it. They're not going to see all of the work that I put into the details in these pieces. So, take a step back and really kind of look at it as a whole.
Yeah, that was a challenge I had when I first started illustrating using like digital programs or Procreate. Was I would want to zoom in all the way to where I could start seeing the pixels.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to remember.
This is maybe too much.
Yeah, a little too powerful. I need to remember, like, I had to try to think of it as you are using a digital tool, but still think of it like you're using traditional materials like paper and pencil.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've done the show a few times. Is there a reason you always return to Bigger Picture Show, or is there a favorite thing about it that you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, first of all, it's the themes every year are just so much fun. This is I think the 4th time that I've done the show, and every year that I've participated, it's been a completely different theme. And even though the list of movies, I always get so excited when the list of movies is released and you're going through, dozens and dozens of titles, and it's really hard to narrow it down to your top 5 or whatever. But the creativity, not only in the prompts, because that helps, I think that helps artists, or myself at least, really kind of start thinking outside of the box. The mashup year was probably my favorite so far, having 2 completely different movies pushed into one and having to kind of consolidate them. Not only is it a fun creative challenge, but the thing that I really, really like about it, so even if I didn't participate, I would be going to the event every year, is the fact that there's so much creativity and there's so much talent in this community. And I love to see all of the pieces that get that are made by the people in the city. Because I mean, every year there are pieces that blow me away, pieces that somebody may have gotten a movie that I was kind of thinking, oh, I really want to do that. And to see what somebody else does in a completely different way that I was, planning. It's a fun event to kind of really appreciate and take in, the talent that's in the city.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. It's like a wonderful way to showcase everybody's unique skills and styles, and combine all that with movies that everyone's familiar with, or maybe some less familiar ones. And just, I love seeing the way people just interpret. There's just unlimited ways you can interpret a movie into a poster.
A variety of styles too, and that's the thing that I is really exciting to me, because I have a particular style, and they're the different media that people use, the different directions that they go in. It's it's such a fun exhibit.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for it this year.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for joining me and all of us here today.
Absolutely.
I'd like to remind everyone watching to make sure to come by and check out the Bigger Picture Roadshow this year at Circle City Industrial Complex on October 29th. Don't forget. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and join us again for our next series. Thanks for watching.